Hi everyone, it's time for another episode of Adams for the Love of Movie Picks. This time around, we're going to be talking about the 2014 film Into the Storm. So basically the premise of this is, the span of a single day, the town of Silverton is ravaged by an unprecedented onslaught of tornadoes. The entire town is at the mercy of the erratic and deadly cyclones, even as storm trackers predict the worst is yet to come. Most people seek shelter while others run toward the vortex, testing how far a storm chaser will go for that once-in-a-lifetime shot. So there's, not some huge actors in this movie, but I mean, some you may recognize. Richard Armitage is Gary, Sarah Wayne is Allison, Matt Walsh is Pete, Max Deacon is Donnie, Nathan Kress is Trey, Alicia is Caitlin, Arlen is Daryl, Jeremy is Jacob, Lee Whitaker is Lucas, Kyle Davis is Donk, and John Reap as Revis. I like how the movie is shot in that found footage format. Like the Blair Witch was shot, Paranormal Activity, and Cloverfield, to name a few. It really gives the movie a sense of realism and relatability, in a sense that anybody could be in this movie. I love the special effects in this movie. They're very realistic, and even though most of them are CGI, which is computer generated images, if you're not sure what CGI stands for, they are so well done that most of the time you can't even tell that it is CGI. So it really gives a whole nother level of realism to the film. The movie is really following the same tornado from two different stories. The people of Silverton, where the tornado hits, and the storm chasers following the tornado as it develops over Silverton. There's some pretty comical moments in this movie, mostly to do with Donk and Revis, two amateur YouTube stuntmen turned amateur storm chasers. They're not pretty sure there isn't a brain between the two of them, but they do provide some pretty comic moments in the movie for sure. I really like the vehicle that the storm chasers use, which they call the Titus. And it really is badass and perfect for filming a tornado up close and personal, and has a lot of cool equipment. When the weather starts to get bad, it gets bad in a hurry, leading to some great disaster scenes throughout the movie. Like when the tornado strikes the high school and you can see it through the school's security cameras. It's very realistic looking scene, and very believable as to what it would be like in a scenario like that in real life. And that's the first time you see the tornado hit the school. It actually kind of grazes the school, so it doesn't do much damage. The scene of destruction just outside the school is pretty intense, with cars destroyed and school buses flipped over onto cars. The attention to detail on what the equipment the storm chasers use exactly does, and the lingo and terminology that they use is really impressive. Really on point, and in my mind, it seems very accurate and believable. The downtown tornado scene is intense and pretty action-packed for such a short scene. Then you move on to the fire twister scene, which is pretty unique and somewhat hauntingly beautiful, but obviously very dangerous. It is a true thing in nature. It's a very rare phenomenon. Usually it only happens when a tornado goes over a fire source, maybe during like a brush fire, or if there happens to be like something that it destroys and creates fire, it'll suck up the fire into the vortices and create what they call a fire tornado. Very rare, but definitely something that has happened before. Then you got the scene where the storm chasers, the vice principal and his sons, go back to warn all the people seeking shelter in the high school about, go to warn all the people seeking shelter in the high school about the EF5 tornado that is bearing down on them. This is really brave and a very emotionally charged scene. Basically like this, a bunch of different tornadoes combine to form a massive EF5 tornado, which in real life is the deadliest tornado that can happen. Wind speeds in excess of 300 miles per hour and just utter destruction for anything that's in its path. It basically levels the high school to get them out just in time, but it levels the high school. And most of the people get away on buses or in their own cars. But a few people in cars, and the one bus, which, I mean, they probably do this obviously just for the movie to make it dramatic and whatever, but, it just happens to be in there in the last bus, and a power tower falls over, blocks the road. They're forced to detour and end up in the final scene. They're, basically in a storm drain waiting for the tornado to pass over. The final scene is unlike anything you've ever seen in a tornado and or disaster film. It is really intense, visually stunning, and overall just awe-inspiring. I mean, you have full-sized airplanes taking off and flying by themselves just by the power of the wind created by this tornado. You have an airport just being leveled by this tornado, and like I said, the group of people taking shelter in the storm drain. The tornado basically turns into a wind tunnel because it's open on more or less both ends. At either end, it's just covered by a big metal grate, and you got the manhole cover above them. And they're trying not to get sucked out while this tornado's passing overhead. What happens is the tornado picks up a semi truck, throws it into the grate, the one side of the grate, and basically damages it, and so people are almost getting sucked out of the one end. Well, Pete takes the Titus and he jams it up against the gate to basically prevent people from getting sucked out. But in doing this, as the tornado passes over, tragically Pete is sucked up inside the EF5 Tornado, inside the Titus. And you get to see some really beautiful shots from inside the tornado, and at its center, which is called the Eye. Overall, a great film with a simple storyline, some action-packed, dazzling special effects, and some of the best disaster shots of any disaster movie that I've seen. So, highly recommend Into the Storm. Obviously, for the disaster sequences that take place, I think they give it a PG-13 rating. Yeah, PG-13. Not for anyone under the age of 13, but still a really great overall movie. Like I said, simple storyline, really great special effects. If you're a fan of any disaster movie, like 2012, The Day After Tomorrow, anything along those lines, Twister, you will definitely be like Into the Storm. So if you haven't seen it before, do yourselves a favor, folks. Check it out. You will not be disappointed. Take care. Have yourselves a good one. We'll see you in the next one.